It's the fast food of transport, isn't it? It's really fun and convenient and a bit addictive. Like, you can just get it because it's so easy.
Welcome to the Swifty Podcast, inspiring positive change through design, innovation and technology. Hello everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is our first official podcast of 2020. We've been away for a little bit, so apologies for that. Just me and Camilla today, no special guest. There's a lot to get through. We've been very busy in 2020 so far, and the main reason why we haven't done the podcast is because we're renovating Swifty HQ and we are building a new dedicated office and stroke podcasting studio for me and Camilla. So that is taking a bit of time to build, and we normally shoot the regular podcast in that space, so we don't really have a good enough of a space to do a regular podcast.
Yeah, we're just in the warehouse at the moment.
So this is going to be our new photo backdrop area here, which is just out in the coal warehouse. So
yeah,
hence why
it's about 6 degrees outside.
Yeah, so
something like that.
That's why we've got our coats on, keeping nice and warm, and some radiators under the desk that you can't see. Anyway, yeah, so 2020, here we are.
Yeah, so what's going on?
Well, we're nearly halfway through February already, so it's frightening how fast it's going. But should we recap? I think our last podcast was halfway through December. Is that right, Saul?
Yeah, it's just sort of near the end, I think.
Near the end of December, so like 18th or something like that, wasn't it? So Christmas has been and gone for all of us, but it was a good Christmas. We had a great Christmas, didn't we? A nice break. We managed to get away with the family, which was nice, up to the Lake District. Yeah. Booked a hotel, which was cool. And then we rolled straight into 2020 and right back to it. So
Jason's been to Vegas.
Oh yeah, CES. Yeah, that was great.
Spoke about that.
Yeah, I've not spoke about that. Shall I talk about that?
Yeah, briefly. Yeah.
We can recap on CES. So we went to CES because...
What is CES?
So the Consumer Electronics Show, and it's a huge show in Las Vegas. We normally show at Interbike as well in Vegas, but that's now finished, and that just took up the Mandalay as an exhibition. But CES took up there was 3 different locations, and they were just... It's the biggest show I've ever been to. It was huge. There were hundreds of thousands of people there, and it's where all the new mobile phone and computer brands launch their new big thing, and there was so much going on. There was a lot of mobility products and companies there, so there was some amazing new drone technology, so taxis that are going to be taking people around, so huge
autonomous
drones.
Taxis and things.
Autonomous taxis, loads and loads of stuff. Really, really cool. And so we were there because we work with the Department for International Trade, and they had a British pavilion in one of the halls, and we were very lucky to be invited along to exhibit, which was great. So we were there to meet some existing customers and relations in the business and our market, and chat to them, talk about the future, and really do a bit of a reconnaissance trip for next year, because our new electric scooter that we're bringing out, which is a little bit delayed at the moment, had a little bit of a setback, but these things take time. We were hoping to launch at Taipei Bike Show, but it looks like it's going to be Eurobike, which is in the summer.
But also, Taipei Bike Show is probably going to be cancelled.
Yep, I've cancelled going to Taipei Bike Show.
We're not going to go, but the whole show might be cancelled, I've heard.
Yeah, it might be, because of this coronavirus thing.
Yeah, so we're keeping our eyes on what's happening out there. But
yeah. Thoughts and prayers go out to everyone that's affected. We've got a lot of friends over in Taiwan, and some in China as well. And we know that they're hurting over there. So yeah, I hope it rectifies itself as smoothly as possible. So CES was good. Went there, checked out the show. Loads of cool stuff there. I won't go on too much about it. But we are hoping to go back next year. and that's when we really launch into US market properly. Got a few plans that we're going to be doing over there, so that was cool. So that was middle of January.
So thought we'd talk a little bit more about the micromobility space, because Jason was in London on Tuesday.
Yep.
So what did you do in London? And
so
do you want to...
so that you might have seen quite a bit of stuff in the press. The press are picking up on this review that the government are going to do in terms of electric scooters and the whole micromobility market coming to the UK. It's long overdue, and currently we're not permitted to ride on the pavement or the road with an electric scooter, as you all should be aware of. And the much larger operators that are very popular in Europe and America, the Birds, the Limes, the Ubers, the Jumps, those kinds of companies, they're desperate to get into the UK market, and they're really pushing hard.
Specifically London.
Specifically London.
Such a big opportunity.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that they all have a very similar model. They are the free-floating, dockless sharing scooter model, which is not what we do and or anticipate doing anytime soon.
And we've been selling our electric scooter for 3 years already, haven't we?
That's right, yeah.
So, this is just reminds us how slow it's been for anything to happen in the UK.
Yep.
Regarding
so that's been a barrier
the
for
law.
us. Yep.
Yeah, massive barrier, and it's definitely stopped us, or just delayed the launch of our new electric one.
Yeah. So it's important to point out, as I said before, that this micromobility market is pretty much, how's the best way to explain it? I kind of feel like no one really ever questioned the concept. Like, the concept came out and then they all just followed suit, and it was an arms race to become the biggest, raise the most money. I mean, these companies have raised huge sums of money in the tens of millions, if not billions, as what is purported. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But they're huge companies now, and massive brands, but they all have the very similar concepts. Let's just lay out the concept so it's crystal clear for everyone that's listening. So the concept is, you take a 9-bot Xiaomi product off the shelf, because 9-bot is the largest manufacturer of scooters in the world.
So quite a cheap electric scooters, basically.
Yeah, you whack your logo on there and you connect it through your app, because these companies are pretty much tech companies, and you take a load of them, chuck them on the streets, sometimes regardless of the law, whether you're allowed to or not, and you invite users to come along and start using them, and you can unlock and hire this scooter, ride it wherever you want. And then
it's not regardless of the law as such, it's regardless of
having a license to operate.
Yeah. So there's two separate things. There's whether you're legally allowed to ride a e-scooter on the road, or whether the city permits dockless scooter share. Yeah. And they're two separate things.
Yeah, I'm also recalling that this in other countries, not the UK. This is like what happened in the US to begin with, San Diego's to be specific, and I think it was San Diego, wasn't it? Yeah. And when Bird launched, they put a load of scooters out and they got fined, didn't they? They got a huge fine. And what happened was that kind of format, that business model was copied by everybody, and all sorts of different operators just, appeared from nowhere. Yeah. Whether they were the first to do it doesn't matter. But what I'm trying to say is that industry, it's all very much the same. It's a free-floating 8-inch wheel-ish electric scooter that you can't ride when it's got no power. You just stand on it and it's got a throttle and you just go. And they all pretty much do the same thing.
I think there was an interesting panel debate at one of these conferences and the question was how are the different brands, how do the different micromobility operators differentiate from each other? And basically, they don't, apart from what colour scooter they've got. That's it.
How they all have the same price model as well? Pretty much like for like.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But probably.
Okay.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, really interesting. It's also very surprising that for us, like when you raise so much capital for growth that they're not able to even come up with a concept that differentiates themselves from the rest of the competition. Isn't it funny the way they're all very, very similar? Very similar. Like that's
why some people say it's going to be a race to the bottom. Who's going to find the cheapest journeys?
Yeah, sure. Well, at the moment, what's happening is it's a bit of an acquisition trail at the moment, with the biggest ones swallowing up the slightly smaller ones to try and gain market share, and it's crazy, really. It's crazy for us to watch because we have a radically different concept, and what's important for us is that we've always put the rider experience at the very heart of what we do, and also safety as well. And that's why we ended up with launching the products that we have now, is because it's all about the ride. It's all about how you ride the scooter, being comfortable, being safe, it being fun, and being something that you will ultimately remember. And so when we were in...
And enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So that you actually use it. There's no point having something that rubbish to ride.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't do it.
So what's really, really, really crackers to me, which is I don't understand, is how... So you've got the government now who's going to do this review on scooters and whether they are safe to ride. You've got people who are having accidents. I believe the number of cases in A&E for scooter injuries is really rocketed. It was a very good Christmas for scooters, apparently, in London. And when I was there on Tuesday, there were a lot of scooters.
I think those figures are completely scaremongering because it's like 1 or 2 people.
Okay. Have you seen
when you
some
compare
stats?
it to like motorist injuries, it's like tens of thousands.
Okay, well, all right. Well, it's not the point of what the quantity is. It's the point is that when people are on the small-wheeled scooters, they are more prone to have an accident, we believe, because of 2 things. The first thing is that this tiny wheel radically increases the chances of you having an accident, we believe. And we've done some CAD simulations to simulate a scooter going over a typical pothole in the road. We took the measurement of 50 millimeters deep by 300 millimeters wide, because pretty much consistently across all the boroughs and all the councils in the UK, that's the size that they won't fix. It has to become a bit deeper or a bit longer. And then they'll come out and fix it within something like 48 hours. So we took that as a test simulation just to see what would happen. We're not saying everyone's going to go over a pothole, but what we wanted to do was simulate what would happen. And when you take our scooter geometry and you go over a pothole, it's pretty safe to say, until we do this in reality, which we are going to do over Stuntman, you fly over the pothole and it's pretty minimal chances of you coming off or having an accident. With a typical Xiaomi style 8-inch scooter, you're pretty much going to have a catastrophic accident and come off. And you know as well as I do the amount of people that have come to us in the past, customers who were Decathlon Oxello riders, adults this is, and they'd had accidents. And micros, they had accidents and then we're looking for something a bit bigger and a bit safer, and then they come to us and find us. That's because you're riding a baby's toy. And this is a long way around the original point, but the point is that it's really crazy for me to see this whole industry like explode, and then the government is going to be spending probably millions of pounds doing this review in terms of, are scooters safe to go on the road? Yet we could mitigate this whole issue if we just actually focused on riding a safe scooter to begin with? Not, is that scooter all right to ride on the road, and what other legislation or what other things do we need to put in place to make it safe? Like, do we need to change the infrastructure of the road, or do we need to give them a separate lane, or do we need to give them a specific speed? Mm-hmm. You could mitigate all those issues by just having a larger wheeled scooter.
Just
without
a decent
a doubt.
Scooter.
Just a decent scooter. So I think it's crazy that this has now become a huge talking point, just because these other big brands are, like Bird and Lime, are so massive, and everyone thinks that's the only option.
Yeah.
And it's a real shame, because we've been around for 10 years and we did it right from the beginning. And this is my prediction. I think what's going to happen is, and it's already happening, as we know, in Europe, a lot of the operators have reduced their fleet sizes because in winter nobody wants to scoot. Why is that?
You're asking me?
Yeah, why is that? You know the answer.
They get too cold.
They get too cold. Why?
It can be icy.
Well, because it can be icy. So you're going to slip on a small wheel scooter that doesn't have any traditional bicycle geometry. So we've got a really cool blog. If you want to go and check it out and have a look, it shows you all the key points that we're talking about now, and probably more that I'm probably forgetting to mention. But there's a number of things in there. So if you take typical bicycle geometry, you take rake and trail. You can look it up. I won't explain it too much. But most bicycles have a decent rake, and you have a different rake.
That's the design of the front forks.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the offset of the wheel and the angle of the head tube. And it's been around for hundreds of years, right? This isn't something that we've invented, but all of our scooters all have followed bicycle style geometry to make the fork nice and stable at speed. That's something that you can't cheat.
And if you don't have that, then the steering is really twitchy and you're really likely to trip.
Yeah, and these smaller wheeled scooters, like the Xiaomi's, they all have the same geometry. It's crazy.
And handlebars up like this.
Yeah, they know.
Which makes it even worse.
That's because a lot of them put the batteries in the stem, so they need a really tall stem.
So they're just trying to fit in all the batteries.
Yeah, and so they don't have any rake. They don't have a decent trail, and sometimes it's a negative trail, which is awful, which means they're really rattly and really unstable. And they've got really narrow handlebars, so it's even more unstable. So I just I'm perplexed how, these companies can raise so much money and they can't even design a decent scooter. But you know why? Because they don't design them. They just buy them in off the big manufacturer. They just slap their label.
It's based on supply.
Yeah, they just slap their label.
Buy hundreds
at
once.
Because the riding experience isn't at the heart of what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Most of them are just trying to get as many people to get on scooters, irrelevant of the riding experience, because they know they're going to go and raise more money in 6 months. And they need to justify that multiple.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Different values.
Completely different values.
What about the other thing that you forgot?
What did I forget?
Deck drop.
Deck drop, yeah. So Camilla invented this new word, deck drop. And
it's crucial.
It is.
It needed a word.
It needed a word, and it's now started to sit better with me. I didn't like it to begin with, because I didn't think people would understand it, but maybe we should explain it. So if you take the center of your wheels and you take the axle, you draw a line between them, nice straight horizontal line. Where your foot sits, either above or below that line, gives you a very different experience. On all Swifties, the deck is below that axle point. It's below, so your weight is pushing down. So it means that the platform is nice and stable because the center of gravity is low. It's below the axle points. On the majority of the smaller wheeled scooters, would you believe it, the axle point is below the deck. So your weight is way above. This means that you're top heavy. Everybody understands that principle.
It feels different, doesn't it?
It's like trying to stand on top of a ball.
It's not just a really tall step to step onto it. It's the way it feels when it's going fast.
Yeah, yeah, because all that weight is, there's a lot of force in there, and it's the principle of levers. It's the higher you are away from that axle point, it's almost like a lever. So when you move all of your body weight, it has a big effect, and to counterbalance that back and try and get it back on, it takes more energy. So you you're going against yourself by designing a scooter where the deck is above the axle points. And that's because they've got tiny wheels and they're trying to pack loads of batteries under the footplate.
So it has a really long range to cope with going.
Yeah, like the Lime scooters.
More journeys per day.
Like the Lime scooters that we tried in Frankfurt, which were just rattly as anything, and they were so heavy. Why are they heavy? Well, they want a long range, and they also want to stop people picking them up and vandalizing them. So make them 30, 35, 40 kilos. I don't know the exact weight, I'm guessing that, but they were pretty heavy. And you can't vandalize them because they're just too heavy to throw.
Yeah, I think they were about 40 kilos.
You think they were heavy?
I could barely lift it. And I'm not that puny. Quite strong.
Yeah, you're pretty strong. Yeah, you might be right. I'm more inclined to say around about 30, but
I would find 40 kilos heavy.
I think most people would find 40 kilos heavy. It's like half.
So what's the weight of a Swifty?
Well, a standard Swifty is 8 kilos. 8 kilos. And an electric Swifty is 12 kilos, 12 and a half.
Nowhere near 40.
No.
Just bonkers, isn't it?
And way bigger and, way more stable. And
you need way more power to then accelerate it.
Yeah. So the other thing which you talked about a bit before is that everyone's talking about this idea of, does a throttle cause an issue with the law?
Oh.
And all of these scooters have just a throttle. And when you have a throttle, it's a powered transporter. So getting type approval for the scooters is a tricky area to navigate.
Ours at the moment is a throttle.
Ours is a throttle, but our new one, which we've been testing and we've been developing, is kick assisted. So when you kick, it gives you a bit of power. So there's no throttle, which we think is a really smart thing to do, because it does a number of things. First of all, it extends the range of the scooter with a smaller battery, because you're putting some energy in. So every time you kick, you go further. It also means in the wintertime, because you're actually moving, you're staying warm. Your body's physically staying warm, which is great. Another big tick. It gets around this idea of, do we need new type approval for throttled scooters? Because it's got no throttle. You're actually moving, which is great. And the other thing that it does is, I've forgotten what I was going to say. Type approval, and it'll come back to me in a second.
I think it gives an element of safety because your foot's going down.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah. Thank you. You said it. You knew what I was going to say. Yeah. So safety. You're connected to the ground. You're kicking, and you just feel safer.
But will it have a throttle option as well?
Well, for US market, yes, we'll have a throttle option. Possibly we'll make that standard. I don't know. We've still got to figure out how it works. Maybe just in the eventuality of, for safety, maybe yes. Like if you come to a point where you just need to buzz and carry on, then maybe. But it won't be a throttle where you can just pull it down and hold and just stand on it.
Mm.
And we can change that with the controller.
Also, our electric scooter at the moment, you can just freewheel without the power.
Yes, that's the other good point. Yes, of course.
And you can kick it if there's no life left in the battery.
Yeah, because the footplate is always going to be low enough for you to use it as a regular scooter. And it's not a geared motor, so there's no resistance. The only resistance there is the rare earth magnets pushing past the coil inside. I mean, there's a tiny little bit, but it's negligible. Like, you can still scoot
You can
normally.
still kick.
Yeah.
And you can definitely go down a hill without any power.
Yep. So I was in London on Tuesday, as you said before, and you wanted me to talk about what I did there. And so yeah, I had some meetings, and then on the way back, I was in the South Kensington area. I need to get back to Euston, and I didn't fancy getting on the tube. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to try a jump bike, because I really like the jump bikes. I think they're really well designed, and they look pretty smart. For a free-floating electric bike option, they're definitely the prettiest. And I was looking at it, and there's loads of really nice details. It's been really well designed. And I'm a big fan of that
So
bicycle.
Mac's owned by Uber now.
Owned by Uber, yes. Uber bought
So
Jump.
can you use the same app as Uber?
Well, it's a different app.
Different app. Is it
but
Jump?
It's a Jump app, but I think it uses or it somehow communicates with the Uber app, because it knew all of my details and my payment details. So I didn't have to enter my card in or anything like that. It just knew. And I was like, wow, this is so easy. It's great. The one that I actually found on the road was out of service. I think it was actually been vandalized and broken, unfortunately, or it had been already reserved. I'm not sure, but it was in a bit of a weird area and there was a bit of a blinking light on it. But anyway, I found another one which wasn't too far away, and it took me a couple of minutes to walk there. And the unlocking process and kind of all the warning that it shows you of wear a helmet, and I mean, where you're going to get a helmet from, I don't know, but who carries them around, that's another question and debate to have. But it was pretty seamless, and before you know it, I was on this electric bike whizzing up excuse me, towards Hyde Park at like 4:30 as the sun was starting to go down. It was amazing, really
So just
cool.
explain how you do it. You get the app, find the scooter, scan the barcode on the bike, and then you pay a £1 unlock fee.
I think it's a £1 unlock fee, and then it charges you per minute.
Per minute.
Yeah. So you don't really know what you're spending
So
at the
within
beginning.
a couple of minutes, you could be cycling around on a bike, electric bike.
Yeah, and it's really powerful. It's really good. Like, I was whizzing along. It's only got three gears, but you don't need anything else. It's got hydraulic disc brakes. The braking is really good. Got a really nice big bucket on the front for if you want to carry some stuff. It's even got like a little kind of holder for your mobile phone. I didn't use it because I didn't really trust it. Really nice kickstand. They're a nice colour, nice red colour, reddy orange colour. Yeah, really impressed with the bike. It was a really nice bike. I've not been on an e-bike for ages as well, so maybe that added to the endorphins kicking in, whizzing around. It's definitely the way to get around London for sure. So I took a trip, and I was kind of weaving my way around to get to Euston. I had an hour to kill, so I was like, I'm gonna ride down Pall Mall, and it's a really
Hyde Park for a bit.
Hyde Park, and there was a nice, huge, wide cycle lane going through Hyde Park, which was really nice. Loads of people on bikes, and quite a few scooters as well going through, electric ones, whizzing along. There was a scooter that overtook me that I have no idea what it was, but it was super fast. I was looking the other way, so I didn't quite catch it. It came past me, but then I felt it come past me, and this guy was just rocketing along. So
Small wheels.
yeah, that was definitely a supercharged scooter. So anyway, so I ended up down Pall Mall, and then I kind of hooked up towards Regent Street and up that way, and I stopped to go into a shop, but it's that whole area is like geofenced. You can't lock the bike there or leave it, and I got this warning when I stopped and paused the ride that I'd be fined £5 if I stopped for any longer.
Do you want to explain geofencing a little bit?
Yeah, so geofencing is where, so all of these sharing bikes are, they have an IoT device inside. So that basically means it's like your mobile phone. They're connected, so it knows where you are. And what it can do is, because it knows where you are, you can set a load of rules, parameters to say, okay, you can't park or leave it there. You have to take it to a different designated area. So because it knows where it is, you can basically make this digital fence on a map, which means that
So you can stop, but you can't finish your journey.
Yeah,
Is that right?
You can hold the ride, but you literally have like a minute or two before you start getting fined.
Yeah.
And so I was
59,
like, oh, this is really annoying. So
57.
yes, yeah, it was counting down like for me to make a decision. So that was a bit stressful, and I was a bit disappointed because I really wanted to go in this shop, and I was like, I can't go in this shop. I'd have to go. I looked on the map, and it was like, it's quite a way away to get out of this zone. I'd have to park it outside the zone and then walk all the way back And then
And that's there to stop people parking and leaving the bikes all over the place in really densely pedestrianised areas, like Oxford Street.
But it was, I can't remember exactly, but it was a huge area. Oh, excuse me. Oh, it's been a long week. Sorry, I've been building today. So
maybe we should do the podcast on a different day, Friday afternoon or a bit.
It's because I've been working all day, physically working, like building this office. So it's lugging big, heavy bits of timber. And anyway, I'm not gonna moan. We've all been a little bit ill as well, haven't we? In January, everyone got this just horrible, fluey, rotten cold. Anyway, back to the story. So I couldn't go in the shop, and that annoyed me quite a bit. So then I just carried on riding, and then I was like an hour before my train. I needed to get something to eat before I got on the train because it was the last train home. And I found somewhere to park the bike. You can't park in Euston, which I guess that makes sense. So I parked on this side road, and then it showed me the bill. And for 50 minutes cycling, it charged me £7. And I thought that was...
It's more the distance, wasn't it? Because it's only like 3 miles.
Yeah, it was like 3 miles, and that's like the cost of a... I mean, what's a day pass on the tube now? It's probably about £8 or £9, right?
I don't know.
But anyway, I was surprised. I thought it'd be cheaper than that. I didn't think it would be that much. Mm-hmm. And if you to take an Uber 3 miles, it's probably going to be what, 10 quid or something, £10 in London, maybe a little bit more, £12 or something. So I guess it's something you can do, and it'd be cool to do if it's like you're visiting London, but it's not something you would do on a day-to-day basis as being an option for commuting or getting around the city. I mean, imagine if you're
daily.
Imagine if you're thinking of using that service for like nipping out to the shops and then getting back and doing this. It's going to start clocking up really quick, isn't it? Like most journeys.
Might as well buy yourself one.
Yeah, I mean, most journeys are going to be at least 15 minutes. So if you're going to go there and if you're going to go to somewhere, let's say you're in the office and you got to nip out and you got to get over to the other side of London, and you cycle there and it takes you 20 minutes. That's going to be like £4 or something. Then you got to get back. It's £8. It's not cheap, is it? It's expensive. For a bike, it's not like you can go in all weathers. When it's raining, which often is, it's gonna. So as much as I thought it was a great experience because the sun was setting and it was beautiful, I also thought, you know what, it's not going to have very much uptake at this kind of price barrier. I don't know how that compares to the London Boris bike or the other Lime bikes. I don't know how competitive. Maybe the jump bike is the most expensive because it's the most beautiful. We should have checked that out before the podcast. But yeah, I thought it was expensive. I really did.
I guess it shows that it's not something you can use on a day-to-day basis.
No, you can't. No, I don't think so.
Unless you can afford it, which some people could.
Which by comparison, like our fleets that are with businesses in Manchester, like the companies that buy those fleets, they make them freely accessible to their staff. And if you do have to go out and go to the other side of town or wherever, then it's free to use. That's really convenient.
Well, one fleet owner is actually paying their staff to use them.
That's right. Yep, great support.
Because before the scooters, they would have to pay either for a taxi or for mileage on their own cars.
How cool is that? So they're paying, how much are they paying? 20p a mile or something?
20p a mile, whereas before they were, I think it's 42p a mile.
Right.
For petrol. For
petrol, yeah. I mean, that's great, isn't it? That's like a win-win. That's awesome. So, yeah, it was a good experience to go and try a jump bike, and a little bit disappointed, but also the experience of riding it was great. Just that end experience of going, whoa, that cost £7, just left a little bit of a bad taste.
Just surprised.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised.
Well, when we were in Frankfurt using the Lime scooters, I probably spent about £30 riding scooters.
Yeah, you see, they
just
were
in 2 days.
They were expensive as well, weren't they? Huh.
And you could buy a Swifty for 30-something quid a month.
Well, £30 a month you can buy one. So Go figure, you own it as well.
Yeah.
And that's only in a year. Like if you buy it, but yeah, this whole convenience thing, I think
it is the fast food of transport, isn't it? It's really fun and convenient and a bit addictive. Like, oh, you can just get it because it's so easy. But
yeah,
it's
the addictive bit's an interesting point actually, because I've been doing stuff with Deliveroo. Like I've been getting in lunch with Deliveroo, and it's not cheap. It's like it works out about between £10 and £15 for lunch.
That's a lot.
But the thing is, going out to get lunch, 40-minute endeavour to get there and get back, like that amount of time that I don't have to do that, like that's actually very valuable. I get a whole, I mean, I don't take lunch really, do I? So it's different. Like, yeah, if you work for someone, then that's different. You go and take your lunch hour. But to me,
maybe you should take a lunch hour. Good for you.
Too busy, too much to do. I've never taken a lunch hour.
Doesn't stop.
But what I'm trying to say is that the value of that convenience, it's worth paying for me, because
and it's for a lot of people with the scooters.
I can get a lot done, but the convenience of just jumping on a jump bike or a scooter really wears away very quick when you get charged and you're like, wait a minute, that's actually not that great. I don't actually think that that's very convenient. Like if you were to do that a number of times over the year, and let's say you clock up a £200-300 bill over the year, and you just analyse it over the year, you're going to feel a little bit
Be more than that, honey. If you do a couple of trips every day.
Yeah, that's if you were to do it every day. Yeah, I mean, but that's what I mean. Most sensible people won't. They're not going to, unless money's no object, and they don't. But my point is that everything is geared up to be like that now. Like, it all came from what's the earliest thing you can remember that you paid per month? What, like your mobile phone contract or gym contract or something like that? I mean, we used to call them contracts.
Yeah, phones.
We never.
Basically.
It was like we called them contracts, right? Which is like a negative. Now it's like, oh, you don't need to own it. You deserve more time. Why buy? You're a millennial. It's like it's very clever the way it's been marketed to actually try and sell convenience. Yeah, I am dubious about how long convenience will actually stay a commodity that people want to buy into. Like, I think everyone's just getting ripped off, like really getting ripped off, and because it's a new novel thing, and it's like it's cool and trendy to not own anything and just lease your car or hire your car. I think people are going to wisen up to it sooner rather than later and go, wait a minute, we're actually paying through the nose for something under this guise of you deserve the convenience of it.
But do you think there's still a space for this dockless scooter share in the world?
I think the bubble will burst at some point, and my fear is that it might be a bit of a cascade effect, domino effect of everybody following suit, because the brands
they just have to be a bit smarter about it, don't they? Like Gogoro, that's smart.
Yeah, but if the councils and the boroughs and the governments have had enough of it, then they'll just do a ban. That's the problem. The problem is that the core concept is a beautiful concept, isn't it? The core concept of reducing our dependence on fossil fuel vehicles. Let's try and get our nations fitter and healthier. Let's try and get our roads less congested. Let's try and help the environment. Let's try and help the economy with new forms of business and new forms of people getting around. I agree with all those points. I think it's very important. I think every great industrial revolution or great technological advances, a lot of that has come from people being able to get around and be connected and go to places and collaborate effectively and efficiently with their time. Like that's
I went to this round table talk thing about decarbonising Manchester, and one of the guys said, well, maybe we all need to just work from home and not travel anywhere. And I found that pretty horrifying. Like if we all just slept at home, worked at home.
You can't. You need to interact with people. You need to engage and interact. I guess there's a certain amount of that could be probably done, and there's a lot to be said for that. But you can't just all work from home. That's ridiculous. No, that doesn't work. You need to talk to people. You need to go and sort stuff out. You need to go and fix stuff and ship stuff around and
real life.
Yeah, it's like we live in a physical world, It's not going to end anytime soon, unless VR takes over. So
it might be like Ready Player One.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, so we've kind of gone around the houses with this conversation, but
at Swifty, we're going to continue with the consumer model and also the corporate private fleets, and that's what we believe in.
Yeah.
For Swifty, because it's a really good, high quality product focused on the user experience.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why we've been successful with the businesses that we're working with. So if you are listening and you are a business and you have got an agenda for your health and well-being initiative for your staff, get in touch, because we've helped a lot of businesses with fleets of scooters that allow their staff to get a bit fitter, a bit healthier.
And there's a nice long blog on the website that shows all the different fleets that are out there at the moment, which is quite nice to see. All the different ones and the different scenarios and how they are suited to each particular business, because everyone's got their own different set of goals and achievements.
Yeah, so some of the businesses have got these awards that they want to go for, and accreditations, so like sustainability and green, etc., and the scooters are great because they help towards that accreditation, and so it's really beneficial in many ways. But anyway, so the original point that we were talking about was about going to London, wasn't it? And about talking about what's happening in the UK with the change in the law. So we do believe that the government is going to conduct a review this year. We hope it's going to be around springtime. We're trying to be involved in the conversation because we are worried about safety. We are worried about the smaller wheeled scooters. We are worried about the throttle issue. We do think that our form factor is a good form factor, and we're not trying to just promote it for financial gain and to be the leader in this field. If other companies want to do a larger wheel scooter, go do it. I think that's great. The safer the products are, the better for the reputation of scooting as a whole. For sure.
And at the moment it doesn't have a good reputation because of the bad quality scooters.
Yeah, for sure.
And that is a problem in my view.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah. So look, stay tuned and look out for the developments. We are going to be doing this crash test simulation soon with the pothole. As I said before, there's a really good blog which goes over our findings, and we're going to be doing a real simulation soon. So we'll put that on Instagram and YouTube and everything when that's ready. New colours are coming out soon. When does the new range come out?
March.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not telling people what the colours are. Not yet. Okay, cool. Well, March we have a new colour range coming out.
It's going to be a surprise.
Which is nice. We're doing a photo shoot next week, aren't we?
Yeah.
With those colours. And the Swifty Carbon is looking awesome.
Colour of the Month is going to be back
Colour
soon.
of the Month is
also.
coming back. Yes. We have a new supplier, which is great. And we've got to choose some colours. If you've got any suggestions for what colour of the month you'd like us to do, that's...
I know what I want.
What's that?
I'm not going to tell you because that's going to be a surprise.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, write in the comments.
Yeah, if there's anything you'd like us to talk about, then as always, we're open to suggestions. If there's any clarification on topics that you would need, and just let us know. But other than that, thanks for watching, everybody.
Yep. See you next time.
Our first podcast from 2020. Yeah. See you next time. Cheers. Bye bye.